This program is brought to you by Link TV for educational and non-commercial use only. Mosaic, a daily news program from Link TV, presents a selection of news reports from independent and state-controlled broadcasters from throughout the Middle East.
On a subject related to the U.S. presidential elections, but thousands of miles away on the continent of Africa, specifically in western Kenya, the village of Saraya maintains a close relationship with the American public and its current affairs today.
This village is home to the grandmother of Barack Obama. Obama is running for the Democratic Party nomination in the U.S. presidential elections. Obama's grandmother comes from a family that believes in Islam. Obama has visited his grandmother's village 3 times. The most recent time was just a few months ago during his election campaign.
بفرح غامر رحبت هذه القرية بضيفها الذي تعود جذوره إليها النجم السياسي في أمريكا اليوم باراك أوباما.
With overwhelming joy, this village welcomed its guest whose roots come from there, today's American political star, Barack Obama. This is his paternal grandmother who is embracing him. This visit took on a political nature, and the U.S. ambassador in Kenya also attended. Tribal dances and poetry which praised the guest solidified the familial relationship between Obama and the residents of the village, which is located in western Kenya. The son was named after his father in accordance to his father's wishes after separating from his wife. Perhaps the African roots of his son would remain even after his death. When we visited the home of Barack Obama's grandmother, she was busy organizing her family's life, a life which depends on agriculture and cow's milk as source of income.
تعتمد على الزراعة وحليب البقر وتستغرب الاهتمام الإعلامي بها.
Barack resembles his father in terms of intelligence and eloquence. He has visited us 3 times. The first time when his father was dying. During his last visit, I asked him to complete the construction of a school that his father started building.
الذي ينافس ليصبح مرشح الحزب الديمقراطي لرئاسة أمريكا.
The young Obama, who is competing to become the Democratic Party nominee in the United States presidential elections, is not among the American blacks who suffered during the era of racial segregation. He's the only one of Hussein Obama's sons who was born in America. Obama has a Kenyan Muslim father and a white Christian mother. Zahra Hussein keeps pictures of Obama's mother and father as well as some other photos. She prays to God every day, asking God to let her grandson become the President of the United States.
I hope that my grandson wins the elections. I follow his news. As a family, we ask God to bless his journey with success because he is my grandson who takes care of my family.
Geography has divided Obama's family between Kenya and America. The family only has one dream, that their son can achieve what other black Americans have not been able to achieve.
The entire family is happy that Obama is running for this position. We wish him success. All the people of Kenya are following his news. We think that transportation, education, and health services for the residents of this village will improve.
These days, Kenyans divide their attention between the results of the domestic elections that have caused an explosion of fighting in their own country and the end of the race between Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama, who is originally Kenyan. If Obama, who Kenyans consider their son, wins the presidential elections in the most powerful country in the world, then they see this as a victory for them. In this case, Kenyans will be able to gain greater prominence among the African nations. Zahra Hussein never imagined that one of her offsprings would reach an important political position as she watches him from Kenya. Today, she has lived to see her son's son competing for the highest position of president in the United States of America. She hopes to be able to see her dreams for her grandson come true. Fadi Yassin, Al Jazeera, Siya village near Kusumu.
فهد ياسين الجزيرة قرية السياي قرب كسومو.
أهلا بكم إلى التفاصيل. نتائج الثلاثاء الكبير كانت كبيرة بالفعل.
The results of Super Tuesday were indeed super, especially at the Republican front. This news comes after John McCain achieved an overwhelming victory that will help him in the second round of elections next March. On the other side, Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton failed to clinch the Democratic nomination. While Obama won more states, Clinton won more delegates.
أما الثانية فنالت العدد الأكبر من المندوبين.
قد يسمى ثلاثاء الانتخابات بالثلاثاء الكبير، لكنه لم يكن ثلاثاء.
Tuesday, Election Day, was dubbed Super Tuesday, but it wasn't a decisive day, especially for the two Democratic candidates. Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama shared the victory of the night. While Obama won more states, Clinton won fewer states, but ones with larger populations. However, the specific number of votes or states won is not important, considering the fierce competition involved. What is important is the number of delegates allocated in every election district, which is based on a proportional voting system. The two candidates split the delegates, and each of them interpreted this as a victory and a reason to push ahead.
There's one thing clear about this night. We don't need to find the results to know that our time has come.
Tonight, in record numbers, you voted not just to make history, but to remake America.
On the Republican side, McCain got the most votes. However, his victory was not as large as expected. The surprise was that Huckabee returned to the race to compete against Romney. Thus, the conservative Republican vote was divided between them. This led Romney's campaign to acknowledge that a serious talk will take place on Wednesday to discuss the future of his campaign.
Tonight, I believe that one of the things you are saying across the nation is that people are saying the conservatives do have a choice because the conservatives have a voice.
Voter exit polls revealed that Obama got 34% of the white male vote. This is a much larger percentage than during previous voting in other states. The majority of Latinos and Asians voted for Hillary, which helped her in the state of California. African Americans voted for Obama. With regard to the issues, the economy remained the priority of voters from both parties. All eyes are now on the elections in the Washington area next Tuesday. Next month will be the vote in the states of Texas and Ohio, which have the largest number of delegates. Muna Shikaki, Al Arabiya, Washington.
العربية واشنطن.
And now to the results of the presidential primaries in the United States. In the Republican Party, John McCain emerged as the clear winner, but in the tight Democratic race, the drama goes on as both candidates chalk up victories. IBA's Leah Stern has all the action.
In one of the most exciting presidential races in recent memory, voters turned out in record numbers yesterday for the Republican and Democratic primaries. Among the Democrats, Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama shared the vote in a coast-to-coast struggle that failed to establish a dominant frontrunner in the race for the Democratic presidential nomination. Clinton, who is seeking to become the first female president, took the most important states, New York and California, as well as New Jersey, Massachusetts, and Arkansas, where her husband had been governor. Clinton won most of the Hispanic and women's voters.
In my lifetime, I'd like to vote for a woman president, and I think she really is the best. When push comes to shove, she'll get it done. And I'm voting for my granddaughters.
After 7 years of a president who listens only to the special interests, you're ready for a president who brings your voice, your values, and your dreams to your White House.
But the race is far from over. Obama, who is hoping to become the first black president, has been gaining momentum dramatically and won in states including Georgia, Alabama, Minnesota, and his home state of Illinois. His campaign slogan continues to excite viewers.
Our time has come. Our movement is real, and change is coming to America.
I think he has more of a unifying factor, and I'm concerned that Hillary would be too divisive and wouldn't get enough crossover votes to win the election.
Among Republicans, Senator John McCain took a huge step towards clinching the Republican presidential nomination after piling up big primary wins over Mitt Romney and former Arkansas Governor Mike Huckabee. McCain won 522 delegates to 223 for Romney and 142 for Huckabee. The Republican candidate scored a victory in New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, and Delaware to gain all 198 delegates at stake.
It is an honor greater than all others to serve this country, the love of my life. And I thank you from the bottom of my heart for helping me serve her a little while longer. Thank you, and God bless you.
And while McCain is the undisputed frontrunner among Republicans, the Democratic race is still wide open, and the political drama will rage unabated until this summer's Democratic convention in Denver. This is Leah Stern for IBA News.
We're going to stay with the US elections for a few minutes, and of course, like in other parts of the world, they're being closely watched in the Middle East. When it comes to US foreign policies, Iraq and Iran pose big challenges for the next president. Al Jazeera got the views of some Iranians in Tehran.
I think since Hillary Clinton showed a lot of restraint in the Monica Lewinsky affair and didn't try to take advantage of that issue for her political campaign, she seems to be more popular among Iranian people.
The Republicans have always used power and money in their politics. Now the majority of American youth support Obama, and if Obama wins, it'd be better for Iranian people, especially because he has promised to talk to the Iranian president without preconditions. We should now wait and see what happens in the competition between Republicans and Democrats, but I think Iranians are glad to see a black man on his way to the White House.
Although it interests Iranian women that a woman is running for presidency in the United States, it would be better if Obama wins, because the black people have been subject to a lot of discrimination in America.
Hillary Clinton stands a better chance, and I think her being elected will promote the social stance of women. So ladies prefer to see a woman become powerful, as it will make them proud.
Some views there from the Iranian capital, Tehran. But of course, one of the biggest challenges for the next US president will be how to handle the war in Iraq. In a moment, we'll get the views of the US election race from Baghdad. But first, let's compare the Iraq policies of the three main candidates. Republican frontrunner and former prisoner of war John McCain is adamant the United States must maintain a long-term presence in Iraq and has attacked his Democratic rivals for advocating a timetable for withdrawal. Hillary Clinton says she would start bringing out troops within 60 days of becoming president, while Barack Obama says the U.S. should never have invaded Iraq in the first place, and he would have all U.S. combat brigades out of there within 16 months. Well, to discuss this further, I'm joined on the line from Baghdad by Saleh Al-Mutlaq, an MP with the National Dialogue Front. Thanks very much for joining us. First of all, let's begin with the Republican presidential hopeful John McCain, who is in favor of a long-term U.S. presence in Iraq. What's your response to that?
Thank you, Mariam. Actually, the Republicans, since they invaded Iraq, they had done a lot of mistakes in this country, and unfortunately, it looks that they are heading towards more mistakes in Iraq. I think the presence of the United States military in Iraq is going to cause a lot of casualties, a lot of damage in the relation for the Iraqis and the Americans. I think they are mistaking and they are miscalculating the situation in Iraq if they really want to stay as long as Mr. McCain is saying now. The Iraqis cannot, resist, cannot stand any occupation in Iraq, whether it's American or another country. It's better to find a way to withdraw from Iraq with a safe face for the Americans and a safe life for the Iraqis. Otherwise, the the damage and the relation between the Iraqis and the Americans will continue.
So you're more in favor of what Democratic candidates Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama are saying. They're both advocating a timetable for withdrawal from Iraq.
Yes, but I would rather like them to say that they are responsible for the damage which happened in Iraq because of their occupation, and I would rather like them to say that they are going to correct their mistakes in Iraq and a parallel timetable for their withdrawal from Iraq. They built a very bad political process in Iraq. They damaged the infrastructure of Iraq, so they are responsible for it, and they should set a parallel timetable for that.
So who would you like to see in the White House?
Well, I mean, I'm not biased to any particular person, but you know, from the views of both Clinton and the other gentleman, you know, they seem to be practical in saying that they are going to set a timetable. It's a timetable, whether it's 16 months or 10 months or less than that, but they should add another timetable.
Now, on any other day, it would have made the front page news in the US. The CIA chief publicly admitted it used the interrogation tactic known as waterboarding on 3 terror suspects after the 9/11 attacks. Sebastian Walker reports.
It was the voting that stole the headlines, but there was another news story from America on Tuesday. For the first time, the CIA's publicly admitted waterboarding was used to interrogate suspects in the aftermath of the 9/11 attacks.
It was used on Khalid Sheikh Mohammed, it was used on Abu Zubaydah, and it was used on Nashiri.
The technique, which involves strapping someone down and pouring water over their cloth-covered face to simulate drowning, has been a controversial topic in Washington of late. Reports it was used on those 3 al-Qaeda suspects became a full-blown scandal when the CIA said intelligence officials had destroyed videotapes of their interrogations. It's prompted a criminal investigation, as well as calls for the US attorney to brand waterboarding torture, something he's still refusing to do.
Given that waterboarding is not part of the current program and may never be added to the current program, I don't think it would be appropriate for me to pass definitive judgment on the technique's legality.
Tuesday's announcement brings some clarity to US authorities' use of waterboarding, but some say the timing's suspicious.
Well, today is one of the busiest news days of the year, and it's certainly suspect that this very important news would come out today. It's convenient.
If the public admission of its use of waterboarding is bad news for the CIA, there's no doubt that this was the day to bury it. Sebastian Walker, Al Jazeera.
The Egyptian President Hosni Mubarak is the first person to receive an invitation for the Arab Summit scheduled to take place in Damascus at the end of next month. This news comes after the Syrian Foreign Minister Walid al-Muallim handed a letter from his President Bashar al-Assad to Mubarak. During the meeting, the two sides discussed the latest political and security developments in Lebanon and in the Gaza Strip. As soon as the Palestinians and the Egyptians found a solution to the border crisis, Israeli war machinery resumed its killing campaign against the Palestinians. In response, the Qassam rockets resumed pounding Israeli settlements along the border with Gaza. In addition, the closure of Rafah border crossing and the issue of security, including the possibility of deploying an Egyptian or a joint Palestinian-Egyptian force there, are still under discussion. Meanwhile, the residents of the Gaza Strip returned to the blockade after running out of the food and medicine they brought back from Egypt. Zohair Sakallah reports from Gaza.
Israel is refusing to stop its aggression. Israeli fighters continue to pound and target anything moving on the ground, inflicting casualties among the civilians. In Han Yunis, the scene was bloody, as the Israeli forces targeted a police compound belonging to the ousted Palestinian government, martyring 7 people and injuring dozens of others.
Israel is continuing its aggression, which has not stopped for a day. It's a new conspiracy to keep imposing the blockade on the the Palestinian people in order to break their will and perseverance. However, the harder they hit us, the more determined we are. We will continue to protect and support the resistance until we liberate Palestine.
In response to the Israeli assault on Gaza, the Palestinian factions, especially the Qassam brigades, launched rocket attacks on the Israeli towns along the border with Gaza, inflicting casualties among the settlers. Several factors are contributing to the crisis in the Gaza Strip, among them the arrogance of the Israeli occupation and its policy of killing and collective punishment against the Palestinians. 2 weeks passed since the border opened between Gaza and Egypt. Then the residents brought back food and other supplies, which didn't last long. Now the residents are back at the blockade after the borders between Gaza and Egypt have once again been closed. Meanwhile, a relative calm returned to the Egyptian-Palestinian borders after the latest crisis that nearly spiraled out of control.
The effects of the Israeli blockade are evident on the ground. However, the issue can't be resolved by storming the Egyptian-Palestinian borders. This is not the solution.
The Gaza Strip remains under the Israeli aggression and its blockade despite the latest developments there. Perhaps politics can play a part in lifting the blockade imposed on the Gaza Strip, where freedom has become the dream of the young and the old.
Meanwhile,
the Izz ad-Din Qassam brigades, the military wing for Hamas, responded to the Israeli aggression by firing 10 rockets into southern Israel. One of the rockets caused power outages in some areas in the settlement of Sderot. In addition, a second rocket inflicted casualties among the settlers and caused substantial property damage. Israel, which continues to act arrogantly, found someone who supports it in Europe. In a letter addressed to his Israeli counterpart Shimon Peres, the French President Nicolas Sarkozy said that his country will provide support to Israel in its so-called war on terror.
Iran revealed its scientific and technological achievements, impressing the international community. Many of them attracted wide-scale international attention and debate. Tehran considers these as steps in a plan to establish itself as an international power based on knowledge and advanced technology by the end of 2025.
إيران قوة تكنولوجية عالمية مهيمنة على منطقة غرب آسيا.
Iran, a world technological power dominating the region of Western Asia by the end of 2025. Tehran looks at this scenario with pride, but international powers look at it with concern. The reality is that the capital, Tehran, has an institute for stem cell research and has cloned the first animal in the country, a sheep named Yaina, who was born in September 2006 in the Royan Institute in Isfahan. The institute, which receives support and financing from the Iranian government, conducts first-phase embryonic stem cell research, hoping that such research will lead to scientific and medical achievements that will one day be used to treat many diseases. This February, Iran announced the discovery of a new kind of treatment for AIDS, which does not have any significant side effects. Meanwhile, the world is concerned about the other side of such research, Iran's nuclear ambitions. This has provoked wide-scale international debate regarding Tehran's efforts to develop its nuclear technology, especially after Iran announced that it possesses 3,000 centrifuges for uranium enrichment.
Advances in nuclear technology prove that Iran's scientific capabilities are a reality on the ground. It is the first important step that paves the way for more important steps.
Iran has had international economic sanctions placed on it since the year 2000 for refusing to end its nuclear program. The Iranian leadership appears to hold firm to these nuclear ambitions, considering them a legitimate right. This is a cause for concern for many countries, which point to Iran's activity on its missile technology and its recent missile launch as part of Tehran's campaign to launch 5 satellites by the end of 2010. Siham Balzamoush, Al Arabiya. It's a perfect government. This is how the head of the Lebanese government described his cabinet. If it's so perfect, why did it fail to help those who sacrificed everything, including their lives and property, to defend the sovereignty and independence of Lebanon?
في ظل غياب كشف واضح وشفاف يبين أين وكيف صرفت الأموال التي خصصت.
In the absence of a transparent and an independent audit showing when and where the money pledged by donor countries to the victims of the July war go, the Lebanese government may continue to describe itself as a perfect government. If it's so perfect, why is it failing to meet its responsibility and help those who sacrifice dearly with their lives and property to defend Lebanon and its sovereignty?
بشكل عملي عن الشعارات التي ترفعها هذه الحكومة.
إجانا مساعدات كثيرة، عيب إنه نسأل نحن رئيس الحكومة أو الحكومة بالذات.
Lebanon received a tremendous amount of aid. It's rather embarrassing to ask the government and the Prime Minister where did the money go. However, we want to know how much money did each area receive and whether the aid was symbolic or monetary. The media blew things out of proportion by saying that the people in the south had received hefty compensations. What did they give the poor people in the south? How much did the people of the south receive from this aid? How much was symbolic and how much was monetary? Let them bring it out in the open.
More than 276 towns, villages, and cities in southern Lebanon were a testing ground to the various weapons of the Israeli army, turning some areas into rubble. More than 300 residential units were either totally destroyed or partially damaged in the towns of Faroun and Ghandariya. The residents started to reconstruct their damaged homes after receiving part of the money promised to them. Today, they're waiting for the remaining installments in order to complete the reconstruction of their homes.
We want to reconstruct our home and pay our debts. We are still waiting for the second installment.
If they run out of money, people here will suffer the consequences. Where did the money go and who received it?
I had a 3-story building which included 3 residential units. Each story measured 270 square meters. They gave me a building that has no residential units at the ground level. I had to borrow nearly $60,000 to complete the construction of the building.
I want to send a message to Senora. You ought to be ashamed of yourself. And just for once, tell the truth. That's it. Senora needs to tell the truth and give the people what they are due.
While some wanted to keep the compensation issues out of the political orbit of the Lebanese government, others believe that no country is viable until it preserves the integrity of its people.
They're trying politically to defeat one another. Each party wants to bring down the other to its knees. I tell them, brothers, we don't want anything. All we want is to live in harmony with one another. We want to live in brotherhood inside the government and everywhere else. Brothers, we must come together and cooperate to help reconstruct this country and not to destroy it.
They haven't compensated. To say the least, 5% of what the people of the South have given to this country. There is no shame in taking money to reconstruct our homes, but what is disgraceful is to let your people down. There's no country without people, and no people without a country.
Yesterday's speech by the head of the Lebanese government about compensations pledged to southern Lebanon came as no surprise to the residents. The people of the South have waited for a long time for financial aid that will not only compensate them for the losses, but also will help them get back to a warm home they have missed dearly. From the town of Faroun in southern Lebanon, Randa Mansour, NBN.
Get more news about the Middle East online at linktv.org/Mosaic. The Mosaic webpage offers a complete archive of Mosaic programs, program transcripts, the Mosaic video podcast, and the Mosaic Intelligence Report, a weekly analysis of the hottest stories from the Middle East. The views expressed on Mosaic are those of the participating broadcasters, not Link TV or its sponsors. The production of Mosaic is made possible with the support of viewers like you. Thank you. This program was brought to you by Link TV for educational and non-commercial use only. Link TV is the only U.S. television network devoted to global and national news, with uncompromising documentaries and diverse cultural programs. Programs which connect you to the world.